All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Wonder Egg Priority, Episode 9. Why not Episode 8? Well, because the previous episode was a recap episode.
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll be watching this one directly from there. We do not do recap episodes.
Exactly. You don't want that. We don't want that.
Exactly.
Yep.
So that's what we're doing.
But last episode was an awesome recap episode.
Yeah, one of the best ones. Yeah,
yes, certainly one of my favorites.
Yeah. Getting a lot of time, not just with her backstory with her mother, but just how that affects her in the present day.
Yep.
So, yeah.
It was great to have. Given that we got that after her official introduction, that makes me very optimistic that maybe we'll get the same kind of treatment with the other girls.
Yes, I do believe a couple of them kind of need that right now. Yeah. And Rika being probably potentially my favorite character in the quarter.
She is pretty great.
Other than maybe Oto, I'm not sure.
Right, it's easy to have the main character be your favorite character.
Right.
Yeah.
But looking forward to more of that. And without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion.
Whoa.
Well, what a mind job to quote one of my favorite movies.
This was, oh boy.
I feel like this one, weirdly enough, I hope it's more foreshadowing rather than actually like giving us clues to the answers, because there was a lot of gobbledygook in this episode that I did not follow.
And what's weird is that it felt like, because like, okay, when after the previous episode, right, dealing with Rika, and then we had the episode before that was dealing with Oto.
Right.
I was hoping that this episode would focus on Neru, right? Because she's
kind of did.
Which it did, right?
Yeah,
but the way that it felt like it was less focusing on Neru as far as furthering her character arc and more focusing on world building using Neiru as like a perspective for it. Like and in a way
Kotobuki was the real like person that we got characterization for.
Exactly.
Outside of the sweet moments though, with Neru trying to reconcile the difficulty of this whole situation where she's
been asked to,
Yeah, she believes she needs to take
off life support.
Life support for Kotobuki.
Yep.
Now, I understand why she feels that way. I also understand very much why, well, in a lot of ways, she needs them near her in order to be able to do this. It's the whole thing of, you're trying to help convince yourself that you can do something. But the funny thing is that one of them literally made the guesswork of, did you, like, murder someone?
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh, well, yeah.
I might be about to,
Not necessarily. Well, no. There's a difference between murder and this.
No, absolutely,
like,
yeah.
You would very, like, rarely call this, basically, anything remotely close to murder.
Totally. And if you were, that would be a very limited perspective.
It'd be assisted suicide.
Right.
Yeah.
But this is an episode that brought up a lot of things seemingly kind of out of the blue. Like some of the things, it's like, okay, we had general vibes that those might be the case. Like that there's some kind of like experiment going on with the girls to study stuff.
Probably confirmed by this episode.
Right.
Secondly, that there was a dreamlike alternate plane of existence that they were in for the egg stuff.
Yep.
Also confirmed. 3, the two guys, I forget their names constantly. They're very simple names, but very
like
similar.
Ara and Aka or something like that.
Yeah. They're up to no good, of course. Okay.
And they have connections to people in the real world.
They have connections to people in the real world, of course, but because I think there are people in the real world. If the girls can enter this through the dream state of what,
why can't they as well?
Why can't they as well?
And who's to say that they have to maintain their usual form? They could take on the form of these
mannequins probably look
or whatever,
however they want, just in the same way that they could conjure weapons to defeat the
monsters. Yeah, exactly.
So I think this is very much a thing of where the company that Neru is connected with has some ties into the study of this area there, because there was some very odd style exposition regarding the idea of dreams and them being recorded, and that's eventually they'll be able to be fully 3D and color and all this stuff, and I'm like, no, that means it's already available. It's just for very specific people as they're working on the prototype or something.
Sure, yeah, exactly.
Before they sell it or something.
Because it being monochrome like that
that's
you're
irrelevant.
generating you're generating the data anyways. So like I don't think
where does
color
this
would be the
recording
issue.
come from?
Right. Like So but
it's the whole thing of where when you dream, are you first person perspective or third person perspective looking at yourself?
Sure.
There's a lot of difference in a dream based on whether or not you are inhabiting your body in
Or
the
observing
dream,
your body.
or observing your body doing things.
And if it's both, then it's even weirder. But
yeah, that's rare though.
Yeah, like
usually it's one or the other.
And so in this situation, I wanna just sort of get this out there because I feel like we could talk about what they brought up in the episode theoretically for like a very small amount of time or theoretically a really long amount of time because it was such a mind trip, right?
Yeah.
But one of the things that I was kind of confused about, I thought we were going to get extra like focus and understanding of the nature of it, but now I'm thinking we might not, is the whole idea with Neiru's sister. Because because that seemed to be the focus for Neiru and the big like character conflict for her, the thing that she was grappling with and needed to resolve.
Right.
And then suddenly we introduce this seemingly new one with this other character. Now it's a possibility that she is the sister, and that's what I thought they were originally implying.
I think that's what they were implying.
Except that there was no reference to the previous stuff that happened with her sister, the stuff that they were talking about, right?
Yeah, that could have been a lie. I don't know.
And and granted, the dream was still on the bridge, so that could be the connection, since her sister like jumped off the bridge and killed herself, right? But given the fact that they were talking about how Kotobuki was specifically trying to experiment with near-death experiences, that doesn't seem like the kind of thing where then Neiru would like that seems like something else, right? Like not
right.
Like either that or Neiru was kind of lying with how she then talked about the previous like thing with her sister.
Yeah.
Or I'm not sure, but like I'm curious about this, and the fact that it follows after a recap episode seems strange to me because it feels less like a fast development of the story,
which is what it probably
intended to be.
Yep.
But it feels more like a different development of the story, where it's like, okay, we have some things that are sort of seeded with the idea that this could be an experiment and things like that, and then we're just going to sort of take it in this different direction, and we're going to use Neiru as the vehicle for it.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how I feel about that, but this was a lot to introduce, so maybe they'll be able to like make more sense and feel more cohesive and everything as we keep going.
Yeah, because this is the kind of episode where you basically shake up the world like a snow globe. You basically take it and you turn it upside down, and you shake it, and all this stuff comes out, and we go, oh, that was there. And we're like, oh, that's loosely connected to all these other things that we definitely saw in the visual kind of establishment of what this show's framework is.
Right.
But that much? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I kind of liked the fact that Kotobuki was our new kind of character to give
exposition.
To give not exposition, but to give kind of the voice to this stuff. In the same way that we had a couple bits of exposition of just like, oh, here's some things just confirmed for you. We're like, oh,
sure.
Okay. Kotobuki more gave this philosophical kind of theorization of a lot of the stuff that they're going through, but also wasn't doing it to, I would say, necessarily give hard data to Neru. If some aspects of what the two guys, the two mannequin-looking guys were saying is that she was trying to hint at some things to Neru, either, bring up the point that Kotobuki knew a lot more, or Kotobuki didn't really know, but was pushing Neru along the right direction. And is this idea that death, or the idea of Thanato, or short for Thanatos, being this sweet thing that tempted her, something that pulled her in.
Right, the call of oblivion.
Yeah, the call of oblivion, yeah, the void, the sweet embrace of death. But she's like, no, and it's not as much a temptation, more an
abduction.
Well, hold on. She said something that was a visual. Yeah, I felt like an insect preyed upon by a carnivorous plant. Yeah, my mind and body were abducted. Abducted by what? By innocent sorrow. Now, what's curious about this is that all the characters that we've been dealing with in the egg worlds, they've been suicides.
Right.
They've all been suicides. Now, what might be happening here is that this world kind of space that they're entering is one that humans created. What I think they're getting at is that this is actually the interstice between life and death.
And they've discovered
humans are
and
just
figured out how to tap
accessing
into
it.
it.
Yeah.
Sure.
And right now, we're getting that really trippy, existential, semi-religious, but also
Did you really
like...
just do that?
What?
Existential?
Yes, I absolutely did that, yeah. Then, it's not funny, it's ridiculous. And I have troubles with the execution on some of this.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
But...
this episode felt a little scrambled, yeah.
Yeah, right. I think they should have put it in for a little bit more, take it over medium rather than easy.
Right, it feels like a lot of the ideas might have been poached, maybe. No,
Yeah.
It starts to break down, but...
Yeah. But I mean, that's what the shells do eventually.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So, with this setup, it feels like they're saying, okay, we're going to get metaphysical, so we're going to say some vaguely metaphysical things.
Right, it's a concept, we're getting at things that we, the creators, don't fully understand, and humanity doesn't really understand, so it makes sense that these characters in the series wouldn't understand it either.
But they're doing the classic kind of mystery box thing, which is where there are characters that have no character to them.
Right.
That say things.
Stroke their chins and are like,
yes, darkness is dark and light is dark. You know?
Kingdom Hearts dialogue.
Yes, exactly. And you're just like, yes, this is all very, it's all very interesting.
It gives me a vibe maybe of like, because okay, the beginning of this series and the opening for it is very strong and evocative and things like that, and lots of wonderful mystery elements and things like that, and you don't necessarily need to give answers to the mysteries all the time, right?
No.
And you don't also need to necessarily have plans for what the mysteries are going to be when you introduce the mysteries.
Well, yeah.
But if you...
Kinda, though.
Right. But if
do.
you don't have answers for the mysteries...
You need to know
from
what
the
it's
get-go,
not.
You need to know what it's not. And you also, in my mind, you would want to be comfortable with never explaining the mystery if you can't come up with a good explanation. Because
right now it feels like they're rapidly trying to give
yeah,
explanations.
it feels
but
like
they're also
something where
not.
it's like, oh, this show is going to be one core. We tried to come up with something that would be a good explanation for it the previous week and ran out of time. So we did a recap episode, and now we still couldn't figure anything out, but we had to do something because 2 recap episodes in a row wouldn't work. So now we do this, and it doesn't have to be that.
No,
right?
no, but I think Kotobuki is a cool introduction point to that because they have a good number of episodes they can do after this, like that'll kind of give further context and stuff.
Right.
But the part that weirds me out is the idea that this is all supposed to tie back in to the idea of why are we focusing on girls that commit suicide?
And why is I the main character?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
so I'm like,
this seems like the kind of thing where if Neiru was the main character, then cool, yeah, she's the serious character. There's crazy conflicts and potential conspiracies and, ooh, the government, don't let them come and take my body.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Absolutely. But how does this get back to a quiet girl at a school that was bullied and her friend killed herself and there's this stuff with the teacher and home life and like, you know, it feels like it's almost becoming a bit of a different show.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if they want to slow things down in the actual characters' stories to focus on this plot stuff so that we can have a very solid new style of conflict, which is, hey, we need to go and understand why these two are doing this whole thing with the, you know, the Wonder Eggs and all that. And, you know, there's a lot of things that are told directly to the audience for the purpose of just, you know, giving mystery and stuff of like, oh, yeah, it was you who made Neru's Wonder Egg, Kotobuki, wasn't it? And it's like, just a coincidence.
Yeah, and it's like, wait, so implying then that, or almost stating, one of the characters stating that at the very least, they have the ability to control who's in the eggs.
Right.
Which is like, okay. Like,
What does that have to do with
Is
anything?
this
Yeah.
some kind of Matrix thing where they're all in vats and they've harvested the consciousnesses of different humans, and then they're, doing like little like mergers between the between the humans, so that way they can experiment on their little guinea pigs? What? How does it come into play? And it's something that I'm keeping an open hand with this, but I was really excited to see Neru's story be explored more, because that was some seriously heavy, dark shit. Like how do you reconcile that if you have a sibling that attacks you, right, and then kills themselves? Like what does that look like? No wonder that she's like cold and not very doesn't have much expression and things like that, right? Like I wanted to see how her friends would be able to come around her and help her with that. And while this was a Neru perspective episode, this did not feel like a Neru character focus episode. And given the fact that it's now this close to the end of the series, I'm beginning to think that will probably not ever happen.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they have time for it at this point. Because if they do it for Neiru, then they'll also have to do it for Momoe as well. I feel like
I think that's probably what the next episode's going to be.
Yeah, probably.
I really am also curious about this bit where you had Oto kind of giving a little bit of a story to help Neru, but having this uncertainty with who was the one that moved the coin to determine whether the crush liked them, and that in that moment neither of them necessarily knew what happened, but it ended up in the situation that Koito wanted, and Oto kind of made this thing up. I wonder if she'd be happy if she moved it herself. And it's like, but I don't really know.
Yeah.
That's what fantasy is.
And I like the story. It feels weird, though, to be the one that you bring up before you pull the life support on a very close friend of yours. Like, one of the things that I was kind of surprised that they didn't bring up, at least of like the girls just like questioning, because I feel like in this show the characters, the writers have done a really good job of keeping a finger on the pulse of what the thoughts and theories of the audience will be, and then having the characters voice those concerns as just like what if it's this, like that way it's like the confirmation of you're on the we're of a similar mind, even if it doesn't end up being like that. Your senses are good. She told you that in a dream, or in the egg world.
Right.
We need to entertain the possibility of what if it's just a dream. It's not. There is no actual connection.
Sure.
You're desiring connection with this friend, this person who was so close to you that you don't have anymore, and they're saying to pull the plug. That doesn't necessarily mean it's what the person would want. Now, there might still be something in that situation, and because they didn't really have like traditional family, it can get like janky and weird and stuff. But that conversation of if someone's in a vegetative state and they're not going to recover and everything, what do we do? That's a serious conversation to have, right?
Lots of people have that situation prop up when they are dealing with their elderly grandparents.
Sure, someone who's been in an accident or all kinds of things, right?
And it's in a situation where maybe they did get out a few words before they went back into a coma, and they were like, please just end this. This hurts,
But that's different than Egg World that, like, because it was even, I think it was even mentioned in this episode of like, the Egg World being like, them acknowledging that it probably wasn't like real, but it was still not fake, like that they didn't know where on that kind of like gradient
spectrum,
it fell. Yeah. But they didn't acknowledge that with the idea of like,
was Kotobuki real?
Was Kotobuki really asking you to take her off life support? Like, so that was something that felt odd given how immensely big of a decision this is.
Yeah.
And that there was all the kind of like world building stuff introduced in this episode, and then the emotional conflict actually was relegated to a very small portion, and it was resolved quite quickly.
Yeah.
So
and this all feels like it should tie in somehow to the idea that there is a call of the void, as you say, or a sweet temptation of death, and the whole fourth level Thanato or whatever.
Yeah.
All I take out of that is Thanatos, which is a very popular term and stuff like that. But then being something that she did end up getting by them putting her off life support, that not temptation thing was still something that she did. But this was in the context of that she had essentially already died. But this was basically saying we're not going to keep her physical, body, going and stuff like that. What possibilities do you think we have of being in a situation where all the girls have already killed themselves?
I think that's a very, very high likelihood.
Because I feel like...
I mean, we mentioned in, I think, the first episode...
The first episode,
of, that I could have just been hit by that car.
And that was intentional. That's why she was lying in the road.
Right, exactly. And that, everything that happens is a form of their own souls, spirits, whatever, trying to reconcile their own lives so that way they can, pass on or something. Or who knows, right?
Yeah.
And all the stuff, and the stuff that, by the way, that the two figures we're bringing up in the episode, and Thanato and all that stuff... feels more and more like Madoka Magica. Like they're all like they didn't say we're trying to figure out the entropy problem.
Yeah, exactly.
But they kind of said we're trying to figure out the entropy problem. So I
which is funny because
hey, if you're gonna rip off something good. But I feel like this might be done as more of a last ditch throw some Madoka Magica stuff in there because this was inspired by that and that'll work, right? But I feel like it's not.
I feel like
there are elements that
I feel
are
like they
fully
can right the
set up for
ship a little bit in the next episode. It's just going to take a little bit of honing things in and
Yeah.
utilizing the four main characters and their strong personalities towards a specific point that they kind of choose. And that'll probably mean that they're going to be blinded to some aspects of the world that they're in, which will require the antagonists or the villains or these guys to kind of be like, whoa, hey, you're not looking at the big picture. Don't do something rash here.
Right.
Think about this, and then it's like, who cares about that? Then they,
and then,
shake things up a bit.
And then hopefully we still get resolution with the whole situation with Oto and the teacher and all of that. But last thing I want to say for this episode is that as far as my preferences usually go, with regards to stories like this, I don't actually need explanations most of the time.
Yeah.
If there's mysterious stuff that is introduced and it is it's relevant to the growth of the characters, then I don't necessarily need there to be a concrete answer for it, because the concrete answer is a logical answer to something that is usually presented as very illogical of, having a fantastical world where you fight monsters with, conjured weapons and things like that, right?
Right.
As opposed to the emotional answer of it is helping them resolve their issues, right? And I would have been and it could still go this way, but I get the feeling from this episode that it's probably not. But I would have been absolutely satisfied if the show decided to go, we're not going to explain what those two dudes are like. They give weird atmosphere and stuff, and the main conflict is going to be resolving things with the teacher. Like I would have, and then we're gonna have more character focused stuff for each of the episodes in before then, so we understand the cast, and that would have been.
I think the conflict's going to stem more into the egg kind of world
the world building type stuff,
and then maybe in the very end, then it'll be brought back into the real world, and things will get
a finale episode that deals with the teacher or something like that.
Exactly. But y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yes, if ain't that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.